There once lived a man who was offered everything most people dream about: power, wealth, a crown, and he refused it. Not because he was weak, not because he was afraid, but because he understood something most people never learn in their entire lives: the truth about power. And once you hear his story, you might start questioning everything you thought success meant, because sometimes the greatest power in the world is walking away, long before the modern world, before skyscrapers, smartphones, and social media. There lived a philosopher known for wandering from city to city. He owned almost nothing: no palace, no army, no title. Yet kings traveled miles just to meet him. His name was Diogenes. But people didn't understand him. Some called him crazy. Some called him a genius. He lived inside something strange, a large clay barrel. Yes, while powerful leaders slept in golden palaces, this man slept inside a container meant for storage, and somehow, he was happier than most kings. People couldn't figure out why. So word of this strange philosopher began spreading across the ancient world, until eventually, the most powerful man alive heard about him. A conqueror, a legend, a ruler whose empire stretched across continents. His name was Alexander the Great. He had conquered nations before the age of 30. Cities trembled at the sound of his army approaching. But one day, Alexander decided he wanted to meet the mysterious philosopher who owned nothing. A powerful king, surrounded by soldiers, gold armor shining under the sun, walking toward a man lying on the ground, resting peacefully beside his barrel. Alexander stood over him and said, "I am Alexander the Great." The philosopher slowly opened his eyes. He didn't bow. He didn't panic. He didn't even stand. Instead, he calmly said, "Yes, and I am Diogenes." The king was intrigued, so he asked a question that few rulers ever ask. "What can I do for you?" Think about that. The most powerful man on earth, offering anything: money, land, status, anything. Diogenes looked up at the king and said something that shocked everyone standing there. He said, "Yes. You can step aside. You're blocking my sunlight." The soldiers were furious. How dare this poor man disrespect the greatest ruler alive? But Alexander didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled. Then he said something history would never forget. "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Why would the most powerful man in the world say that? Because in that moment, Alexander realized something terrifying. He had conquered the world, but he had not conquered himself. Diogenes needed nothing, and that made him impossible to control. No fear of losing wealth, no fear of losing power, no fear of losing reputation. He was free, truly free. And that kind of freedom is the one thing power cannot buy. Think about it. Most people spend their lives chasing things: money, status, approval. But the more we chase, the more those things control us. If your happiness depends on money, money controls you. If your happiness depends on attention, attention controls you. If your happiness depends on success, then success controls you. But Diogenes had escaped that trap, because when you need nothing, no one can manipulate you. And that is why kings listen to him, because true wisdom doesn't live in palaces. Sometimes it lives in a barrel. Years later, Alexander would continue conquering lands. But historians say something strange happened near the end of his life. He began asking philosophers more questions. He started thinking more deeply about life, meaning, and purpose. Maybe, just maybe, that strange man in the barrel planted a seed in his mind. A seed that whispered a powerful truth. You can conquer the world and still lose yourself. So what does this ancient story teach us today? Something incredibly simple, but incredibly powerful. True power is not having everything. True power is not needing everything. The moment you stop chasing approval, you gain confidence. The moment you stop fearing loss, you gain courage. The moment you stop needing validation, you gain freedom. Because the strongest person in any room is the one who cannot be controlled. And that strength doesn't come from money. It comes from mastering yourself. If this story made you think differently about success, then this channel is for you. Here we uncover hidden wisdom, forgotten stories, and powerful lessons history tried to bury. Subscribe and join the journey, because the next story might change the way you see the world. And in the next video, we're going to uncover the mysterious story of a king who burned his own palace to teach the world a lesson about ego. Trust me, this story is even more unbelievable. See you in the next video.